can you explain the core differences between Vendor Central and Seller Central?
Vendor Central, often referred to as 1P, and then Seller Central, often referred to as 3P. Vendor Central is where essentially you are taking your products and you are wholesaling them off to Amazon, who is then going ahead and selling them on their own platform, listed as them, sold by them, fulfilled by them. Whereas 3P, a lot of times you have multiple options. You have FBM and FBA, fulfilled by merchant, fulfilled by Amazon. On the 3P side, you are the seller of the product. Amazon can be the one who actually ships the product out if it is an FBA product. But more often than not, in the 3P side, you are the one controlling the entire show. Whereas on the 1P Vendor Central side, Amazon controls a large majority of the show. They control the listing, how everything is viewed, the pricing, etc. And so you are much more kind of hands-off in that capacity.
You have selling to Amazon. So you're the brand, you're selling it directly to Amazon. Amazon, in this case, is the 1P, and they're reselling it on their platform. 3P, it could be that the brand has their own store on Amazon and they're selling it on the platform, or they're using other 3Ps. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, they could be using other 3Ps, so you can have resellers if it is Seller Central. So you could still be a wholesaler working through other options outside of just Amazon for selling on Seller Central.
So in many cases, we'll go to the brand and say, hey, don't sell to Amazon, sell it to us, and we'll sell it on Amazon for you, and we'll protect your price and protect your brand and develop your brand. It's a pretty compelling offer as long as we could make it work for them financially. So tell us kind of like what you think the biggest advantages of Vendor Central are, and then jump over and tell us what you think the bigger and more important advantages on Seller Central would be.
I see Vendor Central as being the hub for especially extremely large brands, right? So Vendor Central, if you're a brand that you are not wanting to necessarily dive into understanding Amazon, trying to deal with other competitors, things like that, Vendor Central is very appealing because you can work out how much you're going to actually spend on advertising. You get the immediate impact of Amazon being the seller, right? And Amazon has a lot of pull in what makes a good product versus a bad product. So there are some benefits in that capacity, as well as you get a little bit more control over your entire logistics workflow with Vendor Central. It's the only area that I don't like there with their logistics is, we don't get really all that much forecasting for how much inventory is needed. But nowadays, Vendor Central can be a very viable place if you are a very, very large brand and you're trying to only sell, for instance, to one seller, right? So if you're a wholesaler in general and you have an account of 50 other people who are selling your product, it's a lot easier to control your brand presence on the platform if you just sell it to Amazon and work through Amazon to have that overall control, if that makes sense. Vice versa, Seller Central. What's the pros there? It's that control aspect, right? So yes, selling just to Amazon gives you that level of control where only Amazon is going to be changing things, but same thing with Seller Central. If you are selling it yourself, you get full control over your branding. You get full control over how your title looks, what your bullet points are, what the product images are, your pricing, when you run promotions, when you don't run promotions. So there's a lot of net benefit as a 3P seller that you necessarily can't really control much on the Amazon platform still on your own if you're a 1P seller, where Amazon still is the one who gets to control that. 3P, you get that full brand identity, that full ownership over what does my listing look like? What does my store look like? How much am I doing advertising? As well as the idea that you're likely going to see a little bit of a profit difference between the two. 1P, a lot of times you're going to be seeing necessarily an easier profit margin and a more consistent profit margin from Amazon purchasing the product from you. Whereas with 3P, you get to dictate, when am I running a promotion? What is my price going to be? If you're going to be selling it at a higher sale volume than you would be on 1P, you can be making a better profit margin.
So what's interesting with Vendor Central, I think it's good for the largest brands, but I think it does take some pricing control away. And what'll happen is that Amazon will still dictate the pricing. So if you have a wide channel and you have other resellers selling in other channels, it could wind up creating a lot of conflict with them, where if you are doing it yourself as a 3P, that pricing is really important. And that's what we run into so often, is that the brands are trying to control what the pricing would be and not to sell the products below what everyday people could be buying this for at other retailers.
Pricing in general, 1P versus 3P is always one of the bigger aspects when it comes to kind of profitability and how you handle the overall market there.